Welcome to today's deep dive. We are jumping straight into a really fascinating collision today.
Yeah, a brutal one, honestly.
Very brutal. Specifically, we're looking at the impact when a carefully constructed personal narrative just totally crashes into cold, hard, documented facts.
Right, the absolute truth on paper.
Exactly. So we are pulling our source material from a transcript off a YouTube channel. It's called Watch Revenge Stories.
Good title.
Yeah, it gets right to it. And it features a first-hand account by a 38-year-old accountant named Rachel Carter. And the mission for this deep dive is to explore how you, the listener, how you navigate a situation when someone actively tries to rewrite the history of your own life.
Which happens way more often than you'd think.
Right, and we want to look at how you can use strategy and, actual data to take your narrative back.
Which is such a vital skill.
Yeah.
I mean, while the source channel has the word revenge in it, we are really treating this as a masterclass case study.
For sure.
We're going to look at the legal mechanics of financial documentation, the intense psychology of self-worth, and basically the entire architecture of a lie.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to really get into those mechanics, you need to picture the scene that kicks this whole thing off.
Setting the stage.
Yeah. Imagine you are sitting in a family courtroom. It's your divorce hearing. And your husband of over a decade walks in.
He's looking pretty confident, right?
Oh, totally. He is wearing a hyper-expensive tailored suit, and he's smiling like he has already won the lottery.
Wow.
Right. And he leans over the table and whispers to you, "You'll leave here with nothing."
Just unbelievable.
And just to twist the knife, his new girlfriend is sitting right there in the gallery.
Oh, you have got to be kidding.
No. And she laughs loud enough for the court reporter to hear and adds, "She doesn't deserve a single dime."
It is, it's just a staggering level of arrogance to witness.
Yeah.
Having your reality and your life's contributions denied to your face like that, it's designed to be deeply disorienting.
It's a tactic.
Exactly. It's meant to provoke an emotional reaction.
And to understand that sheer audacity, we cannot just look at the end of the relationship. Like, we have to look at the foundation.
How they got there.
Right. So Rachel and Ethan started this journey 15 years prior when they were both 23.
Super young.
Very young. And Ethan has these massive, grandiose dreams of starting a software company. But he has zero capital.
Nothing.
Yeah, no money. And investors are telling him the idea is just way too risky. Rachel, conversely, has a steady accounting job. She's got a tiny apartment and, honestly, an absolute belief in his potential.
Which is huge at that stage.
It is. So they make a definitive pact. She will provide the financial stability, he will build the business, and they will share the eventual rewards.
It is the prototypical startup myth. But we really need to look at the structural reality of that pact.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, we always idolize the entrepreneur who takes the leap, right?
Yeah.
But we rarely examine the silent partner who actually acts as the safety net.
I want to push back on that a little bit, though.
Okay, sure.
Because if I'm looking at this from a strict, corporate perspective, Ethan's name is the only one on the LLC.
Right.
He is the one writing the code. He is the one pitching to investors. Doesn't he have a valid legal point that the business is his?
That's a fair question.
I mean, why do Rachel's grocery bills translate to equity in a software firm?
Well, that is the exact argument his legal team attempts to make later. But it fundamentally misunderstands how family courts actually view a marital enterprise.
Okay.
When two people are married, the court often views them as a single economic unit.
Yeah.
So if Rachel is paying the mortgage, the health insurance, and the grocery bills, she is artificially lowering the operating costs of Ethan's business.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. She is providing what we call sweat equity by proxy.
Sweat equity by proxy.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. If Ethan had to pay for his own housing and food out of pocket, the business would have gone bankrupt in month 2.
That makes a lot of sense. So she was basically absorbing his risk.
Entirely.
And the risk was massive during those first 3 years. The company earned almost nothing.
It was barely surviving.
Barely. Rachel describes Ethan coming home ready to quit entirely. She would sit him down, pour him coffee, and physically talk him off the ledge.
Doing the emotional labor.
Yes, but it went way beyond pep talk. She worked overtime almost every single week to cover their entire domestic life.
Wow.
Plus, the early software licensing expenses for his company.
So directly funding it.
Directly funding it. And when a promised round of investor funding fell through, she actually postponed her own dream of going to graduate school.
That's a huge sacrifice.
It is. She delayed buying a new car, she skipped vacations, she put her entire life on hold.
And critically, in those early days, Ethan acknowledged this reality.
Right.
He would frequently tell her that they were building this together, that it was a joint effort.
Until year 7.
Year 7.
Year 7 is when the entire dynamic just fractures. One of Ethan's software products unexpectedly explodes in the market.
Just takes off.
Takes off. Within 18 months, the business expands across 3 states. He's suddenly doing interviews, winning industry awards. He's landing on magazine covers.
The whole 9 yards.
Yeah. And Rachel is thrilled for him at first. But Ethan's behavior shifts drastically.
Like how?
Well, he hires assistants for his corporate life, but expects Rachel to continue managing 100% of their domestic life.
Of course.
And when she brings up finally going to graduate school like they planned, he dismisses it as unnecessary.
Because the money is already there. Success acts as a massive psychological stress test.
That's a good way to put it.
For Ethan, that sudden influx of wealth and status didn't just change his bank account. It actually forced a crisis in his identity.
See, I struggle to understand how his brain even processes that.
It's wild, I know.
It's like a skyscraper taking credit for its own height while entirely ignoring the underground concrete foundation that stops it from tipping over in the wind.
That's a great analogy.
But it's almost worse than that. It's like the skyscraper is actively trying to demolish its own foundation. Without realizing it will cause a total collapse. Like, how does someone literally forget who funded their survival?
What's fascinating here is the specific psychological defense mechanism at play. It's known as retrospective narrative revision.
Retrospective narrative revision.
Exactly. Think of it like a computer rewriting its own source code to avoid a fatal system crash.
Okay.
Ethan's new identity is built entirely on being the solo genius that all these magazines are praising.
Right. The self-made man.
But his memory holds the incompatible truth that he literally begged his wife for rent money for 3 years.
Oh, man.
Yeah, holding both those thoughts at once causes severe cognitive dissonance. So to protect his ego from crashing, his brain literally has to corrupt his memory files.
Wow.
He has to convince himself Rachel was merely a bystander.
And he turns that internal delusion into a very real external strategy.
Right.
The trips get more frequent. He starts hiding his phone, taking secret calls. When Rachel asks questions, she gets hit with textbook gaslighting.
Oh, absolutely.
He tells her, you worry too much, or it's just work.
Classic deflection.
Right. And then she overhears him on a phone call. He thinks she isn't home. And he says, I'll handle the divorce soon. I just need everything positioned first.
Okay, that phrase, positioned first, is the most important detail in the timeline.
Why is that?
It proves his amnesia wasn't just a subconscious coping mechanism. It was a premeditated legal strategy.
He knew what he was doing.
Exactly. He was actively restructuring his assets to ensure she couldn't claim them when he finally left.
Which brings us to Rachel's response, which completely rewrites how these situations usually play out.
It really does.
Because Ethan has fully bought into his own myth, he hires the city's most aggressive legal team. Mutual friends are calling Rachel, saying Ethan is bragging that he built everything himself.
Just spreading the narrative.
Yeah. But when Rachel finds the definitive proof of his betrayal, which was hotel receipts that didn't match his conference schedule, she doesn't confront him.
Which is so rare.
It is. She doesn't scream. She just sits alone in her living room until sunrise, and then she goes entirely silent.
Incredible discipline.
She hires an attorney, Linda Morales, and brings her a 3-inch thick folder of financial documents.
The strategy of silence in a high-conflict divorce cannot be overstated.
Tell me more about that.
When someone is trying to bait you into an emotional reaction, silence deprives them of oxygen. They need you to act crazy so they can point to you and say, look, she's unhinged.
Oh, so it ruins his narrative.
Exactly. But more importantly, she used that silence to conduct a forensic accounting of her own life.
I am amazed by the logistics of that. We are talking about bank statements, tax returns, emails, and loan records dating back over a decade.
It's a mountain of paperwork.
Like, how do you even begin to compile that without tipping off the person you literally live with?
It requires a profound level of compartmentalization.
Yeah.
You really have to separate the grief of the failing marriage from the clinical reality of the business dissolution.
Wow.
Rachel recognized that the legal system does not care about broken hearts. It only cares about ledgers.
And she actually tells her lawyer, I've always believed paperwork tells the truth.
A great motto.
So, cut to the morning of the hearing. Ethan's attorney stands up and formally claims to the judge that the software business was Ethan's separate, independent achievement.
Naturally.
And that Rachel made, quote, no meaningful contribution.
That is a standard opening salvo in high net worth divorces.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You always claim the asset is separate property, totally unconnected to the marital unit. It's aggressive, but common.
Well, here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The restraint it must take for Rachel to sit there while her entire adult life is legally erased to her face is unimaginable.
I would be losing my mind.
Right. But she doesn't object. Her attorney doesn't deliver a fiery speech. Her attorney calmly walks up to the judge and hands him a single sealed envelope that Rachel prepared.
That is brilliant because of how family courts actually function.
How so?
Well, judges are constantly subjected to emotional theater. It is just a daily parade of he said, she said.
Sure.
If Rachel had argued back emotionally, her subjective truth would have just collided with his subjective truth.
And they just wash each other out.
Exactly. They cancel each other out in the judge's mind.
Yeah.
But a chronological timeline of hard facts, that is the ultimate pattern interrupt.
So let's look at exactly what was in that envelope, because it wasn't a letter pleading for fairness.
No.
It was pure, highly targeted data. Item 1, March 2011. Rachel withdrew $28,000 from her personal savings to cover the company's payroll when a bridge loan fell through.
Wow.
And she included the withdrawal slip and the corresponding deposit slip for the business account.
That single piece of paper shatters the separate property argument completely.
It does.
Oh, yeah. It proves direct commingling of personal funds into the corporate entity. You can't unring that bell.
Well, item 2. September 2012. Rachel refinanced her personal vehicle to lower her monthly payments, which allowed her to funnel the difference directly into business operations.
Nice.
And item 3. February 2013, documentation showing she forfeited a graduate school acceptance deposit so she could continue working full-time.
Notice how she isn't just proving she spent money.
Right.
She is proving she diverted her own capital potential, like her education, her equity in her car. She diverted all of it specifically to keep his asset afloat.
And then she drops the absolute smoking gun.
Oh, the emails.
The emails. She didn't just have bank records, she had Ethan's own words from 10 years prior.
Which is devastating.
One email read, "I couldn't have kept the company alive without you. Someday everything we build will belong to both of us."
Wow.
And another explicitly thanked her for covering the mortgage again so we can make payroll.
He essentially drafted his own cross-examination.
Literally.
This is why retrospective narrative revision is so dangerous for the person doing it. You might successfully rewrite your own memory, but you cannot rewrite the server logs of a Gmail account from 2012. It's impossible.
So the judge's reaction is instantaneous.
I bet.
He immediately puts Rachel's letter side by side with Ethan's submitted financial exhibits. And he looks directly at Ethan and says, "You testified the business was entirely self-funded after its first year.
Oh, wow.
Then explain this $28,000 deposit made into the operating account."
And how did the lawyer react?
Ethan's lawyer just stumbles. He tries to ask what transfer the judge is referring to, and the judge coldly notes that the amount matches the exact withdrawal from Mrs. Carter's savings on the exact same day.
The structural integrity of Ethan's lie just completely collapses in real time.
It's like a magic trick where someone suddenly hits the switch for the stadium lights and the audience can just see all the hidden mirrors and trapdoors.
Yeah, the illusion is over.
And the judge just keeps going. He says, "You stated household expenses were independently managed, yet records indicate Mrs. Carter paid the mortgage, insurance, and utilities for nearly 4 consecutive years while your business operated at a loss."
Brutal.
Ethan's confidence just evaporates. His lawyer is forced to desperately ask for a recess.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we see the inherent vulnerability of a lie.
What do you mean?
A lie requires continuous active maintenance.
Right.
You have to remember who you told what and which documents you hid and where the holes are.
It's a full-time job.
Exactly. But the truth requires zero maintenance. It just exists.
Yeah.
The judge doesn't even need to yell. The contrast between the fabricated narrative and the chronological data does all the heavy lifting. The judge ends up suspending the asset division pending a full forensic financial review.
Which takes 3 weeks, and shocker, the court-appointed team verifies every single claim Rachel made. But the legal victory, getting her fair share of the assets in a brief 30-minute follow-up hearing, that isn't actually the climax of this story.
Right.
The real resolution happens after the gavel comes down.
The courtroom empties out.
Right. Ethan's lawyer packs his briefcase and leaves. The girlfriend, who was laughing on day one,
Yeah.
she slips out the back doors without a word.
Wow, she just leaves.
Yep. Ethan is left sitting completely alone at the defense table, and he looks across the aisle at Rachel. And without the audience, without the lawyers, his ego finally drops.
The mask comes off.
It does. And he admits it to her. He says, I convinced myself I built everything alone because it was easier than admitting how much I depended on you.
That is a profound moment of clarity.
It really is.
Stripped of his legal shields, and his sycophants, he is basically forced to articulate his own cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
To acknowledge her was to acknowledge his own vulnerability. His ego just couldn't tolerate the idea that his success was completely contingent on someone else's sacrifice.
And Rachel's reaction to this confession is what truly elevates this from a revenge story to a story about self-actualization.
How so?
She doesn't gloat. She writes that revenge keeps you looking backward, anchored to the person who hurt you.
Which is very true.
Instead, she takes her settlement, which she points out wasn't some astronomical punishment amount, just a mathematically fair division.
Right.
And she uses it to fund the exact dream she delayed 15 years ago.
Opening her own consulting firm.
Yes, but specifically a firm designed to help small family-owned companies organize their finances and structure their growth.
Which is incredibly poetic.
Right.
She takes the precise skills she used to build his foundation and the forensic skills she used to defend her own truth and just synthesizes them into her own independent future.
So what does this all mean for you? Rachel notes something at the end of her account that really stuck with me.
Oh, what was it?
She said she never wanted applause from Ethan. She didn't want a parade. She just wanted the fundamental recognition that her quiet sacrifices mattered.
But the crucial pivot in her thinking, and, this raises an important question for all of us, is about the source of that recognition.
The source of it?
Yeah. How often do we measure our own value by someone else's willingness to appreciate it?
Wow.
Rachel realized something incredibly empowering here. The judge didn't create her worth. The 3-inch folder of documents didn't create it. The financial settlement didn't create it.
Yeah.
They merely reveal what had been an objective reality the entire time.
Her value existed completely independently of Ethan's ability to see it.
Precisely. When you tether your self-worth to the validation of someone else, especially someone who is actively benefiting from your sacrifices,
It's dangerous.
you're handing them the pen to write your history. Rachel realized she had to take the pen back.
I think that is the perfect way to encapsulate this journey.
Thanks.
We started with a 23-year-old making massive, undocumented sacrifices for a shared dream. We watched that transform into a calculated betrayal by a partner who became entirely intoxicated by his own myth. But rather than breaking under the weight of that gaslighting, she delivered a masterclass in using organized truth to dismantle arrogance.
It is the ultimate argument for keeping your own receipts.
Literally and figuratively. You cannot rely on the beneficiary of your hard work to be the historian of your worth.
You just can't.
You have to know the concrete value you bring to your own life, your work, and your relationships.
Because if you don't carefully document your own contributions, someone else will eventually convince themselves they did it all on their own.
Which brings us to our final thought.
Okay.
We started this deep dive talking about how history is written by the victors, and we just spent the last chunk of time exploring how documented facts on paper dismantled a false narrative in a court of law.
Right.
But I want you to think about your own life right now.
Really think about it.
What is a quiet sacrifice you have made? For a partner, maybe a friend, or a job that isn't documented on any bank statement or saved in an old email archive.
That invisible labor.
Exactly. And if you had to, how would you prove the immense value of that sacrifice? Not to a judge, but to yourself.